Hi, my name is Willie, and I'm about to tell you a story that is so scary and yet true at the same time that you wouldn't believe me after hearing this. But what do I have to lose? Oh well, here it goes. I don't normally enjoy Halloween. Why, you ask? It's because it reminds me of my breakup with my ex-psychopathic girlfriend, Nikinja. Every time Halloween comes around, I do nothing but sit around in my game chair and play Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Each time, kids will come and ring on my doorbell. I'll just ignore them and turn off my lights and pretend I'm not even home. I received a notification from the Tinder app, which I totally forgot that I had the app installed on my phone in the first place. Looks like I have a new match, I said while looking at my phone. I immediately opened the Tinder app, and to my surprise, I was correct. I was matched with the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. Her name was Esmeralda, and everything about her was perfect. She even played Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 as well, and she also stayed in the same town I lived in, which is Memphis, Tennessee, by the way. She immediately texted me and said, "Hi, my name is Esmeralda, and I would like to get to know you since we're gaming buddies and all, LOL. I replied back with, "LOL, you seem pretty cute yourself. How about we meet somewhere for dinner? My treat." She responded back saying, "Sure, meet me at Red Lobster in 5 minutes." I ended the conversation off with, "Okay, I'll be there," and I immediately got up and got dressed. As I grabbed my keys from the kitchen counter, I pet my dog Milo one last time before placing him in his kennel. I got in my car and drove off. When I arrived at Red Lobster, to my amazement, there she was. She was sitting at the table waiting for me. She had long black hair with a smoking hot body and a gorgeous red dress. In my head, I thought to myself, "Willie, you are one lucky man." I approached the table and I was immediately welcomed by a graceful hug from her. "It's so nice to finally meet you, Willie," she said. "Wait a minute. How do you know my name? I never told you anything about me," I said inquisitively. "Your Tinder profile, silly," she replied, while giggling softly. I shrugged my shoulder and brushed it off, and we began our date. Everything started out relatively normal, but I was mostly hypnotized by her beauty that I really couldn't stay focused on the menu that was on the table. She was even prettier in person, and I couldn't believe how well the conversation was flowing. However, it didn't take long for me to realize she was a super private person. For example, she would not tell me her last name, where she worked, or anything else about her family. She made it clear that she was protecting herself, and honestly, I don't blame her. She took great interest in the fact that I was in seminary study to be a pastor, but to be honest, I'm not really into that kind of stuff. I'm just an ordinary gamer who's trying to become famous one day, I said to her. She responded with a smile, saying, "Oh, I see. Well, keep that up and you might just have your wish granted." In my head, I thought to myself, this is nice, because usually that's a deal breaker for most women, at least in my experience. Towards the end of our meal, she confessed something to me. "I have something to tell you," she said, "but please don't think I'm crazy." I braced myself for whatever she was about to say. She explained that she recently moved into a new apartment. She lived alone, which was also a new thing. Though she couldn't put her finger on it, she was convinced that there was a presence of a sinister paranormal nature in her apartment. She had hardly slept since she moved in because she was plagued with constant nightmares and strange occurrences. I could see the fear and exhaustion in her eyes. She seemed quite sincere. "I can tell you're a good guy," she said. She elaborated that I seemed trustworthy and had a calming presence. "I know how this sounds, but would you please come home with me tonight? Honestly, I'm just scared to go back there alone. I'm not looking for, well, you know what." I was really taken aback by this. It's not every day I get asked to spend the night with a beautiful woman who I just met. I figured she was either telling the truth or she picked a really odd way to initiate sex. Either way, the night would be interesting. We talked for a bit longer and I agreed to spend the night with her. I followed her home, and when I walked into her apartment, I was immediately struck with bad vibes. There was just something ominous about that place. I didn't want to freak her out, so I kept these feelings to myself. I said a quick prayer and followed her to the bedroom. She wasn't kidding about the sex, by the way. I tried my luck, but was met with swift rejection. We kissed and cuddled for a bit, but nothing too crazy, and then she fell asleep. I just laid there for a while in the silent darkness, lost in thought. Sometime later, it sounded like I heard someone walking down the hallway outside the bedroom. The door was closed, however, so I couldn't see anything. I was definitely frightened, but my curiosity got the better of me, so I went to investigate. Slowly, I opened the door. I looked to my left, then to my right. Nothing. I walked downstairs to check out the rest of the apartment. Nothing. I went back upstairs to check the bathroom and the guest bedroom. Nothing. When I walked out of the guest room, which was right across from Esmeralda's bedroom, I looked to my left and right again. At the end of the hallway, I saw a black humanoid body standing there, perfectly still. "What the fuck?" I said, while continuing to stare at it. Normally, I would pack my stuff up and say fuck this shit and leave, but I didn't want to leave Esmeralda. It was almost like a shadow, but I could discern that it was a three-dimensional figure. This figure was large in stature. There's no way it could have been Esmeralda. She was maybe 5'1" at best. I ran towards the figure with a bat in my hand that I grabbed out of my car before I came inside the apartment. The figure then screamed at me with a high-pitched demonic scream that was so loud that it made my ears bleed. "Ah!" I screamed, while holding my ears in pain. The figure then spoke to me and said, "You are not going anywhere. You're stuck here forever. There is no escape." I used the bat to lift myself from the ground and responded back in anger, saying, "Like hell I am! There's no way in hell I'm staying here! Fuck this!" I swung my bat at the figure's head and it began screaming in a painful, demonic way. "This is my chance," I said, while running back to Esmeralda's room. To my horror, she wasn't in bed where I left her. I called out her name. "Esmeralda! Esmeralda, where are you?" But there was no response. I had just walked through the entire apartment, so it literally made no sense to me that she wasn't there. The bed was low to the ground, so she couldn't be under it. The closet was open too, and it was packed with boxes, so I knew she wasn't there either. The window was shut tight, plus it was the second story. It was as if she had vanished. I grabbed my wallet, keys, and cell phone and ran out of the apartment in nothing but my underwear. The shadowy figure was gone, and I jumped in my car and sped away. I never heard from her again. Her Tinder profile was deleted the next day, and she never responded to any of my texts. To this day, I still have no idea what the fuck happened that night. I also never went back to her apartment, mostly because I'm horrible with directions, and I don't want to encounter that demonic figure again. Needless to say, this was easily one of the most terrifying, inexplicable things I've ever experienced.